Is that true? So he wanted you to change your name.
Yeah.
You said Harrison Ford, and he went, no, we can do better.
Yeah, he said that's too pretentious a name for a young man.
Did you come up with an alternate name?
Yeah, Jerry Tarkovsky.
When insiders looked into Harrison Ford's long history with fellow actors, they didn't expect what they found. Behind the fame and iconic roles lay a pattern of tense sets, silent grudges, and shocking clashes with some of Hollywood's biggest names. What seemed like simple creative disagreements often turned into heated conflicts, public insults, and broken working relationships that never healed. Each story revealed a different side of Ford that few ever see. So, which actors pushed him too far? And what really happened behind the camera when the cameras stopped rolling? Let's find out, shall we? Number 7. Sacha Baron Cohen. It all began as a joke, or at least that's what everyone thought it would be. Sacha Baron Cohen, ever the provocateur, had donned his flamboyant Bruno persona, a character known for outrageous antics and shocking public stunts. Armed with nothing more than his eccentric costume, exaggerated mannerisms, and his trademark camera crew trailing close behind, Cohen targeted one of Hollywood's most iconic figures, Harrison Ford. The scene was set in what should have been an ordinary parking lot, a mundane backdrop for a harmless encounter, yet it quickly became a moment that would shock everyone who witnessed it. Ford, a man celebrated for his legendary roles and his unwavering professionalism, was in no mood for jokes that day. He had spent decades mastering his craft, navigating the high-pressure world of film sets, press events, and public appearances with a precise sense of control and respect for boundaries. The expectation that he might laugh along at an uninvited, over-the-top prank was perhaps naive. Cohen's plan, meant to provoke laughter, or at least a viral moment, collided head-on with Ford's well-known intolerance for absurdity in real life. As Cohen launched into his performance, spinning, gesturing, and demanding attention in that unmistakable Bruno style, Ford's reaction was immediate and unmistakable. Gone was any trace of amusement or tolerance. In a single electric moment, the seasoned actor snapped, voices raised, frustration flashing through his eyes. He barked at Cohen to fuck off, leaving no room for misunderstanding. Then, without hesitation, he turned and walked away, leaving Cohen, the crew, and anyone watching completely stunned. It wasn't just a reaction, it was a statement. Harrison Ford had drawn a line, and anyone foolish enough to cross it would see just how firm he could be. It became immediately clear why he commands respect not only on set, but in every professional encounter. His patience has limits, and nonsense, no matter how cleverly disguised as comedy, is never tolerated. The incident wasn't just a viral moment or a funny story to share at parties. It was a testament to Ford's enduring commitment to boundaries, professionalism, and self-respect. Over the years, this moment has become a sort of legend among Hollywood insiders, a cautionary tale of what happens when someone misjudges the line between playful absurdity and personal intrusion. Ford's reaction was human, raw, and unfiltered, revealing a side of him that fans rarely see. Not the charming adventurer of screen epics, but a man who values respect, composure, and the right to control his own space. It also served as a reminder to the entertainment world that even the most celebrated stars are not mere participants in someone else's show. They are individuals with limits, expectations, and the authority to enforce them. In the end, the Bruno stunt failed spectacularly, not because it lacked creativity or ambition, but because it collided with an immovable force of personal principle. Harrison Ford walked away, leaving behind not just a stunned Cohen, but a lesson for anyone attempting to push boundaries. Professionalism, patience, and dignity are not negotiable. Cross the line, and there will be consequences. It was a small encounter in the grand tapestry of Hollywood stories, yet it remains unforgettable. A brief parking lot incident transformed into a moment that perfectly encapsulates who Harrison Ford is. Legendary, unyielding, and never one to tolerate nonsense, even when it comes wrapped in comedy. Ford didn't tolerate the joke Sacha Baron Cohen pulled on him in the parking lot, even going as far as using an F-word to shut him down. But could someone who worked alongside Ford in the same movie also push him past his limits? And what happened to Ford's relationship with that actor after the provocation? Let's uncover the details. Number 6. Brad Pitt. It was meant to be one of Hollywood's most exciting collaborations, a film that would bring together raw action, deep emotion, and two powerful stars at the top of their game. On paper, The Devil's Own looked like a perfect match, almost like everything aligned for something unforgettable. But once filming began, the dream slowly shifted into a quiet struggle that few outside the set truly understood. Brad Pitt had been deeply connected to the story from the very start. He had spent long hours shaping its direction and imagining how it should feel on screen. To him, it was more than just another role. It was a story with meaning that needed care, consistency, and emotional truth. He wanted the character to feel human, conflicted, and grounded in moral questions without easy answers, prompting the audience to think deeply about every choice. Unlike Brad Pitt, Harrison Ford approached the film from a very different perspective. With decades of experience behind him, Ford believed the story needed stronger direction and clearer moral stakes. He wanted audiences to fully understand his character's values, motivations, and sense of right and wrong. For Ford, a film exploring loyalty, justice, and personal conflict could not afford ambiguity. While there were no public arguments or dramatic confrontations, the creative divide between the two stars quietly grew beneath the surface, shaping the atmosphere of the production in ways few people realized. People on set later described the atmosphere in a simple but powerful way, saying it felt like two captains steering the same ship in opposite directions. That one sentence captured the entire problem clearly. Both actors were skilled, both were committed, but they were not always moving toward the same creative vision, which made every decision feel slightly heavier. As filming continued, the script went through constant changes. Scenes were rewritten, dialogue adjusted, and tones shifted again and again in an attempt to find balance. While everything looked calm on the surface, there was a steady undercurrent of tension that made the process more difficult than expected. Every decision seemed to require careful negotiation, and every scene carried the weight of compromise as both sides tried to protect their vision. By the time production finally wrapped, The Devil's Own had become less about its story and more about the struggle behind it. The final result still reached the screen, but those who worked on it knew it carried traces of the conflict that shaped it. Afterward, Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt never returned to work together again, closing the chapter on a collaboration that had once promised greatness but ended in quiet distance, leaving behind a lesson about how even great talent can struggle when visions do not align on set. The experience later became one of those quiet Hollywood stories that people in the industry still talk about in passing, not because it was loud or dramatic on the outside, but because it showed how even big productions can struggle when strong personalities try to share the same creative space. It also reminded many that filmmaking is not only about talent, but also about balance, patience, and compromise between people who see the story in very different ways. In the end, The Devil's Own remains a film shaped not just by its script, but by the human tensions that lived quietly behind every scene filmed on set. This story still echoes in Hollywood history today. Though tension was high between Ford and Brad Pitt during The Devil's Own, the movie was still completed and released. But was there ever a project where Ford was set to act alongside another actor, only for the film to collapse before reaching production due to creative disagreements? If so, which actor was involved in that unfilmed script with Ford? Let's find out. Number 5. Kevin Costner. It is one of those Hollywood stories that feels almost unreal, like a film that should have existed but never made it past imagination. Two of the biggest names in the industry, Harrison Ford and Kevin Costner, were once linked to what could have been an unforgettable Western. It had all the right pieces on paper: star power, a powerful setting, and a genre both men were deeply connected to. Yet, despite all the promise, not a single scene was ever filmed. At the heart of the project was a clear clash of creative vision. Harrison Ford wanted something grounded and deeply personal. For him, the Western was not just about guns, horses, or wide-open land. It was about people, silence, inner conflict, and the slow weight of choices that shape a life. He imagined a story that moved carefully, allowing emotions and character depth to build slowly over time. Kevin Costner saw the film in a very different way. To him, the Western was meant to feel large, bold, and visually powerful. He believed in sweeping landscapes, strong heroic journeys, and moments that felt bigger than life itself. His vision leaned toward a traditional epic style, where action and scale carried much of the storytelling weight. As development continued, these differences became harder to bridge. Every attempt to find a middle ground only added more pressure. Script drafts were rewritten again and again, with each version trying to adjust the balance between the two creative directions. At times, it even seemed like changes made to satisfy one vision would quietly reduce the importance of the other, creating an unspoken tension that grew with every revision. What began as excitement slowly turned into frustration. Instead of building a shared story, the project became a careful negotiation between two strong artistic identities that could not fully align. The production never reached the filming stage, and eventually, the idea faded away before cameras could roll. For Harrison Ford, walking away from the project also marked a quiet shift in his connection with the Western genre. He gradually stepped back from that style of storytelling, focusing more on other roles that fit his evolving interests as an actor. For Kevin Costner, however, the experience seemed to leave a lasting spark. The idea of telling powerful Western stories never left him. In the years that followed, he went on to create Open Range, a film that reflected his love for classic Western themes. Later, he helped bring Yellowstone to life, a series that carried many of the same ideas of land, legacy, and survival in modern form. In the end, the Ford and Costner Western remains one of Hollywood's famous what-if stories, a project that never reached the screen, yet still managed to influence the paths of two major stars. Even without a finished film, its legacy lives on in what each actor chose to do afterward, turning a lost collaboration into a quiet but lasting piece of Hollywood history. Over time, the story became one of Hollywood's most discussed unrealized projects, often mentioned whenever great collaborations fall apart before reaching the screen. It stands as a reminder that even the biggest names in film cannot always merge different artistic visions into one shared direction, no matter how talented or experienced they are. Today, it remains a quiet but powerful example of how creative differences can shape careers long after the original idea disappears in Hollywood history and storytelling discussions. Beyond the disagreement between Ford and Kevin Costner, which made it difficult for them to co-star and bring a film to life, was there ever an actor Ford reportedly disliked, yet still ended up working with in a completed movie? And what did that actor do that made Ford hate him so much? Now, let's unravel the Jack Ryan battle. Number 4. Alec Baldwin. It all began before cameras ever rolled, when a quiet casting decision turned into one of Hollywood's most talked about behind-the-scenes rivalries. At the center of it were two major stars, Harrison Ford and Alec Baldwin, and a role that neither man seemed willing to let go of: the iconic character Jack Ryan. Alec Baldwin had already stepped into the role in The Hunt for Red October, bringing his own style to the character and earning recognition for it. For a time, it seemed like he would continue shaping the role in future films, but as plans for new installments developed, Harrison Ford eventually took over the part, first in Patriot Games and later in Clear and Present Danger. That change did not sit quietly in the background. In Hollywood, roles of this size are not just jobs, they are identities, and losing one can feel deeply personal. Baldwin did not hide his frustration. In public comments, he criticized Ford in strong and personal terms, even calling him a little short man, with what he described as a limited range. The remarks spread quickly and added fuel to a growing tension between the two actors. Ford, known for his calm and reserved personality, did not respond in the same public way. Instead, he remained mostly silent, avoiding open conflict or interviews that could escalate the situation further. But silence does not always mean peace. Behind the scenes, the industry took notice. People in Hollywood understood that beneath the surface, there was an ongoing discomfort that never fully disappeared. Even without constant public exchanges, the situation left a mark on how the two actors were viewed in relation to each other. As years passed, both men continued their careers, moving on to different projects and successes. Yet the story of Jack Ryan remained a point of reference whenever their names came up together. It became one of those Hollywood moments that quietly linger in the background, not because of repeated drama, but because of how personal and emotional casting changes can become in an industry built on reputation and legacy. What makes this rivalry especially memorable is how simple it began. There were no dramatic confrontations on set, no recorded arguments during filming. Instead, it was a shift in opportunity, followed by public frustration and long-lasting pride. In Hollywood, where image matters as much as performance, even a single role can change the tone of relationships between major stars. Today, the Ford and Baldwin situation is often remembered less for the role itself and more for what it revealed. It showed how quickly professional decisions can turn into personal tension, and how even the most experienced actors can carry quiet resentment long after the moment has passed. It remains a reminder that behind the polished surface of Hollywood, emotions often run deeper than the scripts suggest, and some disagreements never fully fade away. Even years later, the story is still brought up whenever discussions turn to Hollywood casting changes that shifted careers in unexpected ways. For some, it is simply a footnote in the long histories of both actors, but for others, it represents something more lasting about pride, recognition, and the weight of iconic roles. Jack Ryan became more than just a character. He became a symbol of opportunity gained and opportunity lost. In that sense, the tension between Ford and Baldwin lives on, not through direct conflict, but through memory, interviews, and the way fans continue to revisit the story today. Ford reportedly clashed with Alec Baldwin over a role he later took, and Baldwin even publicly insulted him. But did Ford also clash with an actor who never competed for the same role, yet still ended up working closely with him as on-screen lovers? And who is the next co-star Ford hates so much? Let's find out. Number 3. Sean Young. On the set of Blade Runner, what was supposed to be one of cinema's most memorable romances quickly turned into a grueling nightmare of tension and confusion. Harrison Ford, already an experienced actor used to long, demanding shoots, suddenly faced something far more exhausting than complex dialogue or rain-soaked sets. His co-star, Sean Young, chose to stay in character at all times, not just during filming, but off-camera. What sounded like impressive dedication quickly became a frustrating reality on set. Because the actress remained deeply immersed in her role, Harrison Ford often struggled to tell where the character ended and the real person began. The line between performance and reality grew increasingly blurred, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere that added tension, confusion, and emotional exhaustion throughout filming. The production itself was relentless. 50 nights of cold, pouring rain turned scenes meant to convey tenderness and intimacy into exercises in frustration. The crew, noting the stark absence of chemistry, began calling these moments the hate scenes. What should have been electric romantic tension became a heavy, uncomfortable fog of mistrust and irritation. Every interaction, every take, was a careful negotiation. Ford had to deliver authentic emotion under conditions that felt emotionally charged and unpredictable. Each shot required not only technical skill, but emotional endurance as he navigated a co-star who never fully stepped out of the role. For Ford, the challenge was immense. Known for his calm professionalism, he had to find a way to inhabit his character and convey connection, all while managing the mounting tension off-screen. The physical strain of endless nights of shooting in the rain was compounded by emotional fatigue. Repeating scenes over and over, under relentless weather and pressure, created a perfect storm of exhaustion. Yet Ford pressed on, determined to meet the demands of one of the most ambitious films of his career. Despite these struggles, Blade Runner became an iconic landmark in science fiction. Its visual style, philosophical depth, and moody atmosphere earned the film critical acclaim. But beneath the polished cinematography and celebrated performances lay a layer of real-life tension. The coldness and disconnect audiences saw on screen weren't entirely fabricated. They were, in part, the product of the emotional friction between Ford and Young. Every scene carries echoes of the challenges they faced, leaving subtle traces of frustration and distance that became inseparable from the film's atmosphere. Years later, when Blade Runner 2049 brought the franchise back, Young's original character was recreated with CGI, removing the human presence that had once complicated the role. Ford moved on without hesitation, a testament to his resilience and professionalism. The difficulties of those nights, the emotional labor of maintaining performance under such stress, remained part of his experience. But they also became a story of endurance and commitment, illustrating the hidden pressures actors face behind the scenes of legendary films. Ultimately, the behind-the-scenes story of Blade Runner is a vivid reminder of how demanding filmmaking can be even for the most skilled actors. A single choice, staying in character continuously, can ripple across an entire production, altering dynamics, energy, and tone. For Harrison Ford, those rain-soaked nights were both a test of stamina and a lesson in professionalism, leaving a lasting impression on his career. The tension, the exhaustion, and the rare glimpse of raw emotion all contributed to a film where the coldness on screen was, in every sense, completely real. Despite Ford and Sean Young sharing on-screen love scenes, the tension between them was so strong that crew members even labeled their scenes as hate scenes. But was there ever a moment when Ford's frustration with another actor led to open confrontation or physical aggression? And who was the actor on the receiving end of Ford's anger? Let's uncover the next actor. Number 2. Tommy Lee Jones. While audiences were caught up in the intense, fast-moving chase scenes of The Fugitive, a very different kind of tension was quietly unfolding off-camera. Harrison Ford, known for his focused, disciplined, and highly detailed way of working, approached every scene with careful planning and control. In contrast, Tommy Lee Jones preferred a looser, more spontaneous style, often relying on instinct and improvisation in the moment. This difference in working methods created constant friction during production. What viewers saw as a smooth, thrilling film was actually shaped by two very different creative minds trying to find balance while working in the same space under pressure. The difference between Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt quickly became impossible to ignore. What should have been smooth, straightforward scenes often turned into lengthy debates over lines, character choices, and how key moments should unfold. Small exchanges that seemed simple on paper became unexpected creative battles, with each actor bringing a very different vision to the set. As adjustments piled up, the natural flow of scenes began to suffer, affecting timing and momentum. Crew members could feel the tension growing with every take. Though rarely expressed openly, the clash between these two Hollywood stars created an atmosphere that quietly influenced the entire production. People working on the film often described the atmosphere with striking metaphors. Some compared Ford and Jones to two wolves circling in the wild, never breaking eye contact, each testing the other, measuring boundaries, and asserting dominance without a word spoken. Every scene became a quiet battle of wills, a duel fought through gestures, inflections, and the smallest shifts in posture or tone. It was a kind of artistry in conflict, a struggle to maintain one's creative vision while coexisting with another, equally strong force. The dynamic added an unintended intensity to the film, and in some ways, it fueled the performances, making the tension on screen feel frighteningly real. When the film finally reached audiences, the chase, suspense, and emotional resonance captivated millions. Viewers celebrated the film's storytelling and the magnetic presence of its stars, but the behind-the-scenes friction was largely unknown outside Hollywood circles. When award season arrived, recognition came in surprising ways. Tommy Lee Jones won the Oscar, cementing his performance in cinematic history. Harrison Ford, who had carried the emotional core of the movie, whose steady presence anchored the film and gave depth to its characters, walked away without the accolades he might have deserved. It was a stark reminder that public recognition does not always mirror effort or impact. Despite the lack of awards for Ford, a mutual respect lingered between the two actors. Both were professionals, aware of each other's craft, but the bitterness of creative clashes could not be fully erased. Their story remains a testament to the challenges of collaboration at the highest level. Even legends, revered for their skill and experience, are not immune to conflict when strong personalities share the same space. The Fugitive became more than just a film about a man on the run. It also captured the tension, rivalry, and unspoken battles that unfolded quietly behind the cameras, leaving an indelible mark on everyone involved. In the end, The Fugitive shows that great films are not always created through smooth teamwork. Sometimes they emerge from creative clashes, difficult compromises, and determined actors fighting for what they believe is best. While audiences remember the thrilling chase on screen, the unseen battles behind the cameras reveal an equally fascinating story of passion, pressure, and perseverance. Beyond Ford's reportedly aggressive behavior toward Jones, which indicated his hatred for the co-star, who was the actor Ford hated the most? And was the hatred one-sided, or did they both hate each other and make no effort to hide it? Let's uncover the shocking details. Number 1. Shia LaBeouf. When Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull hit theaters, it wasn't just a return for one of cinema's most beloved adventurers. It also marked the beginning of one of the most talked-about feuds in modern Hollywood. Harrison Ford reprised his role as the whip-wielding archaeologist, a character that had defined his career and captured the imagination of generations. But this time, he wasn't facing Nazis, aliens, or hidden temples alone. A new co-star had been cast, Shia LaBeouf, a young rising actor best known at the time for the Transformers franchise, stepping into the role of Ford's son. From the first day of shooting, sparks flew. By the time he reached 65, Harrison Ford had developed a filmmaking style built on discipline, precision, and years of hard-earned experience. He paid close attention to every scene, every movement, and every line, believing that even the smallest detail could shape a performance. Ford approached each project with a strong sense of professionalism, expecting the same commitment from everyone around him. For him, Indiana Jones was more than just a famous character. It was a role that deserved care, authenticity, and respect. After decades in Hollywood, he valued focus, preparation, and teamwork, refusing to compromise on the standards that defined his career. LaBeouf, by contrast, brought a completely different energy. Young, eager, and unafraid of improvisation, he thrived on unpredictability. He frequently injected his own ideas into scenes, shifted lines, and experimented with spontaneous reactions. While this approach can sometimes create cinematic magic, on this set, it clashed violently with Ford's precision. Crew members later described the environment as tense, a constant negotiation between order and chaos. Every take became a careful balancing act, with Ford's structured rhythm attempting to coexist with LaBeouf's impulsive style. What should have been smooth father-son interactions sometimes turned into unpredictable exercises in frustration. The tension, however, didn't fully erupt until after the film's release. Public reactions to the movie were mixed, and LaBeouf's own response became a lightning rod for controversy. The young actor criticized the film openly, questioning choices in direction, storytelling, and, implicitly, the performances. He dragged Ford's name into the conversation, amplifying criticism in interviews and on social media. For Ford, a man who valued professionalism and restraint, this was a sharp and personal attack. His response was immediate, cutting, and unforgettable. He publicly called LaBeouf a fucking idiot, leaving no room for misunderstanding. The words echoed across Hollywood, instantly becoming headline material and cementing the feud in public memory. Even after all these years, the divide between the two actors has never healed. There were no public apologies, no efforts to repair the damage, and no future collaborations that hinted at a reconciliation. What began as professional friction eventually grew into a complete and lasting separation. Many believed the relationship had the potential to become a valuable mentor and protege partnership, but instead, it became a striking example of how different generations, creative approaches, and strong personalities can collide. More than just Hollywood gossip, their fallout serves as a powerful reminder that unchecked expectations, pride, and conflicting work styles can leave scars that endure for decades. Looking back, the tension on set, the differences in approach, and the explosive public fallout offer a fascinating glimpse into the realities of modern filmmaking. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wasn't merely a revival of an iconic character, it became the backdrop for a real-life drama, a story as compelling as anything on screen. For Harrison Ford and Shia LaBeouf, the film left an indelible mark, not just on their careers, but on Hollywood lore itself. A legendary adventure for audiences, a legendary feud for the industry. Even now, years later, the story remains one of the most infamous conflicts to emerge from a blockbuster set. So, what do you think about the actors Harrison Ford hated the most? Which one surprised you the most? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.